These are the weekly events for the Grace United Church of Christ located in Sauk Village, Illinois. The Reverend Melody L. Seaton is our senior pastor. On Thursday, beginning at 7 p.m., we continue our study of the book of Revelation. This week, Deacon Andrea Swift will facilitate a discussion of the Week 6 material. Join us face-to-face or on live stream. Sunday school classes meet at 9:30 every Sunday. We offer classes for both children and for adults. This week the topic is Recreated to Live in Harmony. Please join us. We were created to praise and to worship. Join us in Sunday morning worship service, where our pastor will present a sermon entitled, "This Would Be a Good Time." We would love to have you. In times like these, we need an anchor. We welcome you to join our spiritual family. We hope to see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to Thursday night Bible study. Tonight we're talking about the cosmic conflicts between Christ and Satan. Let's start off with prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord God, for bringing us here once again. Lord God, thank you for your grace and mercy. Lord, although life happened, Lord God, you're always there. And we thank you and appreciate you for that. Lord God, I just pray for a calm mind and a calm spirit at this time, Lord God. Lord God, give to us what you have for us, Lord God. I just pray that this message is well received, Lord God. Lord God, thank you. Thank you for everything. In Jesus' holy name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Good
Take a
evening.
breath. Take a breath.
All right, so I'm going to start off with the place of the passage. Revelation 12 is a pivot point of the book of Revelations, chapter 1 through 11, have shown us the conflict in the church faced within false teachers and without the Roman Empire. Now we get a clear view of the spiritual reality behind and beneath the conflict. Chapters 12 to 14 identifies the main enemies of Christians: the devil, the beast from the sea, the beast from the earth, and Babylon. Then in chapter 15 through 22, we see those enemies destroyed in reverse order: Babylon, the beast, and finally Satan himself. The dominoes are set up and then toppled. The big picture. This pivotal section of Revelation shows a satanic opposition of Christians' faith, but also remind readers that through the work of Jesus, Satan has already been defeated. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we start off in Revelations 12:1. Give me a second to get there. And it starts off talking about the woman and the dragon. And I have questions, guys. So I'm going to pass out questions. I'm sorry I'm not as fancy and have it all typed out. I use my beautiful writing. I hope you all appreciate it. So everyone will get one card.
We got questions.
How many do you have?
We have three.
Oh, you want to share a question?
We could, sure.
Okay.
No, I have two.
You have to, you want to share a question?
Let's see which one I
Maybe if you're 2 minutes to go first, then. Like I mentioned before, Revelation 12 start off with the woman and the dragon. And it's broken off into, I say, 3 different parts. It talks about briefly about the woman and give a description of her. And then it goes and talk about the dragon. And then finally it talks about the man-child that's on birth. And it finished it off with saying how the man-child was snatched up and the woman was hidden and saved for 1,260 days. Okay, so we have several questions. Each question has a number in the left corner. Who has one? Compare Revelations 12:1 with Joseph's dream in Genesis 37:9.
In Joseph's dream in Genesis 9, he, let's see which one it is. Behold, the sun, the woman clothed in the sun with the moon under her feet and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Refers to a woman giving birth, I guess, mentions to Israel. And that was Genesis. And in Revelations, it refers to the child as Jesus that was given birth to. I'm not absolutely sure.
All right. Well, where I was trying to go with that one was that was the description of the woman, both in Genesis and in Revelations is the description of the woman. The bigger question that I didn't put down is who is this woman?
So, in the readings that you have, or I have, is that in this version it says the woman is not the Virgin Mary.
Right.
It sounds like it is. It seems like when you read Genesis and then you read Revelation, it seems like it's looping around, right? But they said that the woman was not Mary because Mary gave birth on earth and this woman gave birth in heaven. So who is this woman?
Well, what I got from my readings is that the woman isn't actually a woman. It's God's people, both the Israelites and the people that believe in Jesus and follow Jesus.
And I have a note here in my Bible that agrees with you. It
Yeah.
kind of substantiates that and says that the woman is used as a symbol for both the Israel from whom the Messiah came and the church.
In the church.
So here in Revelation, she takes on a larger meaning.
Who has number 2?
I have two. Your question is compare the description of the male child with the description of God's Messiah in Psalms 2 and 9. Who is the male child? The male child is Jesus. And in 2 and 9 it says, you shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. And in Revelations 12 and 5 it says, she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with an iron rod. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Well, as everybody knows that when Jesus was born, King Herod found out and he had heard that the child was born to Mary, and he saw him as a threat to his kingdom. And so he orders that all children under the age of 2 to be slain.
Anyone else want to add anything? Okay, we can move on to, you have to read.
I have 3. Who is the red dragon? And there's a reference to that in Revelations 12:3. Then another portent appeared in heaven, a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his heads. And also in 12:9, the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who was called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. So the dragon is Satan.
So we have these 3, which the first one isn't actually one, it's many. The woman is many. And we have Jesus, and then we have Satan, who's trying to snatch Jesus and destroy him before he can do anything. But all this took place already, so he's moving too slow. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Okay, so
I have number 4.
number 4, yes.
How do Jesus' death, resurrection, and ascension defeat Satan's accusations of believers before God? Satan, in this case, as I was reading, is supposed to represent the attack. No, he attacks and persecutes Israel. And God's promise is if the people of Israel confess their sin, he will remember his covenant, as he did with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he would not destroy them, right? So, and I also read in 12:5 as they talk about Michael defeating, the archangel Michael defeating the dragon and throwing him out of heaven and putting him on earth. And so rejoice, verse 12 says, "Rejoice then, you heavens, and those who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you with great wrath." Because he knows that his time is short. So I would think that the people of Israel would know that Jesus has already died and has been resurrected and ascended to heaven, and that the promise is there. If you believe in him, you too shall have everlasting life, even though Satan is reigning his reign of terror on the people.
And I think the good thing is that we know that his time is short.
Yes.
As long as we can get a hold to that it hurts and it's bad but his time is short.
His time is short.
His time is short. He's working with a vengeance, and it tells us that Jesus has already conquered
Yes.
the devil. And so it's our role then to be patient, to wait, and to know, believe what we read in the Word.
But he's ramping it up. You notice that just the way the world is now.
Yes.
He's ramping up what he's doing in the
Right.
earth realm.
Yeah, if we remember when Christ was crucified and he died and he was buried, that he went to hell and took the keys of hell away from Satan. So he was already conquered then.
Yeah.
Right? So I was just wondering how this ties in with that. What's I don't think there's a sequence. I think the theme is the same. That we already know that he's been conquered.
Right. And that leads to question 5.
Okay.
Revelation 12:11 describes Christians who conquer the devil even though he kills them. In what sense do believers conquer Satan? Do they look to the world like conquerors? Well, yes. Christians have already become conquerors in this sense because Christ died for them. So the conquering isn't the way we would normally look at it. The conquering comes through death and then eventual resurrection. There's a piece in our study text that deals with that whole notion on page 46, and I just want to read a piece of it. Under Gospel Glimpses, no accusation will stand. Before the cross and resurrection of Jesus, Satan could accuse God's people by arguing that their sin hadn't been atoned for, since the blood of bulls and goats wasn't sufficient for the task and God had simply passed over the sins of his people, that is, taken no action of any kind with regard to them. But through Jesus' death, God made full atonement for the sins of his people. After the cross, Satan's grounds for accusation are demonstrably invalid. He accuses in vain. This is why the voice from heaven says, "The accuser of our brothers has been thrown down." Satan's power has been decisively broken, and in that act, he has been conquered.
He has been
The
conquered.
devil has been conquered.
Right. But when the question was, do we look like overcomers?
No, we don't,
Well,
because
right.
we don't look like overcomers to the world.
Exactly.
But we know,
We know
in
we
our
are.
hearts
Yes.
that we are overcomers, because we know that there is a resurrection following
Exactly.
what is occurring during this tribulation.
One thing I found interesting in 13:5, the description seems to think exactly what's going on right now.
I know.
Yes, I
Yes,
highlighted it
it's
too.
uncanny.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you have one more question?
There was six,
Oh,
but I.
oh, we did that one. Did we do this one?
Yeah, we did
Yeah,
that
we did.
one. And
That's
this-
starting after the.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on for time's sake.
Was there another question?
It was one more. We're gonna go ahead and move on and talk about the two beasts. Guess what? There's only two questions.
Okay.
Oh, no, I told a story. It's on three. No, you can keep it.
Give me the one you don't want.
I don't, it doesn't matter. We got two beasts.
They speak of is one of the sea and one of the earth. And the first one comes expecting with power, and people are respecting him and all that it is doing, and they're in awe. And then the second beast comes and basically pumping up the first beast and telling people this beast is who, this is what you should be acknowledging and accepting, and come on and join us. So he's the hype man for the first beast. And then it gives a little tad bit saying, but for my people, I need for you guys to really pay attention and listen. And let me be right about this before I spit out what I want to say. If you have ears, then listen. If you are doomed to be captured, you will be captured. If you are doomed to be killed by the sword, you will be killed by the sword. This means God's people must learn to endure and be faithful. So during all this mess that's going on, and although they're trying to make something that is totally against God, so beautiful and amazing, like, you need to be doing this, come on, no, I need for my people to hear me, and I need for you to trust me and be patient, I got you. You're covered, So, we're gonna dive into the questions now. That's
Which one?
one.
Okay.
It's not, you don't have enough one?
Is it, you want this one?
Oh, in this corner.
This is it.
In the right hand.
The left.
Oh. Okay. I say, who is the beast from the sea?
Yes.
The devil is an imitator. And so the beast is a counterfeit of the Holy Spirit. And what he is doing, he is trying to deceive. He comes with the miracles and different things. He is trying to deceive the people.
So that makes sense, but
Trying to look like the real thing.
Exactly. And that's how people get confused.
Look at me.
Right.
so from the reasons that I had was he was and this is actually in First John 2:18. So it's the Antichrist,
Yeah.
pretty much. That's what it is. But yeah. Anybody want to add on to that?
But you know, like the Antichrist.
All right, let's start with question 2.
Okay. Question 2 says, how is the beast in Revelations 13, 1 and 2 similar to the beast in Daniel 7? I'm so glad you asked. I have a resource here that provides a little table on the similarities, and there is a lot of similarity between the two. For example, in Daniel, he talks about the beast from the sea in verse 3, and in Revelation, the beast from the sea is mentioned in verses 1 and 2. The beast is described as a lion in verse 4 in Daniel chapter 7, and as a lion in verse 2 of the Revelation. Both of them describe the beast as a bear in Daniel and in Revelation, a leopard. The beast has 10 horns in both. The mouth speaking pompous words in both. I'm going to hold my editorial. Waging war with the saints in both. And then finally, holding power for 42 months is mentioned in both of those scriptures.
I'm talking about temple. What?
No, there's a lot of similarities,
Yeah.
almost in the same words, as a matter of fact.
And definitely mirror to each other.
Yeah. You had question 4?
3.
Oh, you had 2?
You had 2?
I had 2.
Okay, so it's my turn. Who is the second beast and what role does he play? Beast number 2. He's the second in command. He's the amen of the first beast. He becomes the head of all the religions of the world. So the Antichrist puts him in charge of the churches so that he can go around and say, look, this man is it. This is the man. You're praying to God and Jesus Christ, and look at you. You're suffering. You know, what are they doing for you? Here's the guy right here with you. He understands what you're going through, and he's going to give you a better order in life than what God promised you. So it looks good to them because when the beast is talking and you join with him, you get all the fruits and labors of the world, right? There's fruit that's going ahead. But if you have a certain mark, you're going to have food, you're going to have everything that you need. All your needs are going to be met. So he's actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. He teaches false gospel that supports the Antichrist doctrine. So whatever he says, he said, look, what he just said is what he is. He's going to make it come true. He's going to build that wall. He is a liar and is out to destroy men's soul. So that's who beast number 2 is. He's the amen.
And to piggyback off of you, my commentary says, to the beast, let me see, it says, to the beast out of the sea, he gives political power.
See these appointments?
It's so
Okay.
uncanny,
This
isn't
is
it?
very uncanny.
Yeah.
And the first, and you're gonna have it power for how many? 3.5 years? Did you just read that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing that gets us caught up is our ambitions in this world, what we're achieving for the more money, the power, the recognition, the respect on earth, as opposed to working toward things we need to do to move on to heaven.
Right.
Yeah.
We believe in the temperance. And we know we can't take it with us. But oh my God, let me enjoy myself home.
Because the things we are going for and achieving, I mean, it's going to disappear. It's not going to matter in the long run.
We're so caught up in temporary things and sometimes miss the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, be careful. Know who you're worshiping. Because you don't want to get stamped with the wrong stamp.
And there's some stamps.
But it's just so uncanny that
It's
we
very-
are studying this at this moment and what's going on
And did we know
at this moment.
God has a plan.
Yes. We didn't know when we planned this.
No, we did not plan.
But it comforts you in the fact knowing that despite what's going on, you know, don't even worry. I don't even worry about it anymore.
You
It's
know,
going to
you
be
see them on
okay.
TV and you
Sure.
just like, you know what?
It's like a joke, right?
Yeah,
It's like God has a sense of humor. Like, you know, I'm going to show you all this, you know.
And we're watching these things unfold, and we're sitting there with tongue in cheek saying, "Okay, now watch what's going to come next."
Right. And we already can.
We already
read it.
know.
We know that story. We read
We
the
already
ending. We
know.
know how this is going to end, and he's not going to win.
And I think it's the time that we need to be out there evangelizing
Right.
and let the people know, he's just a figure that God is using. And he is, because he wouldn't have been in there if God hadn't put him in there.
It's pretty much he'll be here today, he'll be gone tomorrow.
Right.
So,
And so we need to talk to the people. And the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And we need to be out there because his time is short, which means,
I'm not saying it's going to be an easy ride, but it's going to be okay.
Right.
Oh no, he's not done with us. And Satan is not done with us at all. He hasn't even started yet.
Okay. I just want to throw something out there real quick and then get back to our lesson. Isaiah 26:3. You will keep in perfect peace him whose mind is steadfast because he trusts in you. So I needed that today, period.
Yeah.
But just to go on with this, although everything is going on and chaos and everything else, as long as you keep perfect peace, keeping your mind on God, not meaning that life is going to be perfect and, everything is going to be, easy selling and everything, but as long as you keep your mind on God, things will work out in the way of His will and His plan. Everything will unfold, and that all this chaos, everything will start to make sense, and you'll find a peace within that. But let's go ahead and move on to chapter 14. The Lamb and his 144,000 followers. I have 3 questions. And followers. Revelation 14, this is 1 through 5. I looked and saw the Lamb standing on Mount Zion. With him were 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their forehead. Then I heard a sound from heaven that was like a roaring flood or a loud thunder, or even like music of harps. And a new song was being sung in front of God's throne and in front of the 4 living creatures and the elders. No one can learn that song except the 144,000 who had been rescued from the earth. All of these are pure virgins, and they follow the Lamb wherever he leads. They have been rescued to be presented to God and the Lamb as the most precious people on earth. They never tell lies, and they are innocent. Question 1.
Oh. who are
Kind of covered it. They,
No.
go ahead, sis, go ahead.
the 144,000 are people who are faithful. They are not necessarily perfect people. They have been redeemed by the blood of Christ, so they are not perfect as far as have never sinned or anything like that, but they are faithful and they are following Christ. So not necessarily literally 144,000 people, but the followers of Christ who have faith and believe in, Jesus and the resurrection and so on.
In my commentary, it says they are spiritually pure, that they have endured the persecution on earth, and now they're ready to enjoy the benefits from it. So they were virgins, they were like the first fruits. These are the things you give before you do anything else with the crop itself. So it does say that they were virgins. They had never been touched, they had never indulged. So they were set aside evidently.
They're spirit, as you said, spiritually pure. I read in one of my commentaries that this group of 144,000 is different from the first group of 144,000 because that first group represented. Oh, is that your question? I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry. I won't steal your thunder.
Go ahead.
My question was, why is it important that the mark of the living God is on the 144,000 people? And you had written Revelation 7:3, which was the original 144,000 that were mentioned. And as you said, the 144,000 that were in Revelation 7:3 are not the same mentioned in Revelation 14:1 and 3. And that the ones that are in 14:1 and 3 are the devoted followers of Christ who were standing before the throne of God. And they could only learn, they're the only ones that could learn the song that was to be sung to God. So,
Wonderful.
thank you. We can show you that.
Oh my
All right.
goodness. Number 3. Number 3 says, how does Revelations 4:14, 6 through 20 emphasize God's sovereign provision for his people? There are a number of things. If we look at verse 6, we have an angel, one of several angels that come out and warn God's people about what's going to happen. The angel emphasizes the fact that God made the heavens and the earth and the spring waters and so forth. So God created those things and is therefore sovereign over all of those things. And then another angel comes out and says in a loud voice that we should fear God. And so just as Jerry was saying a while ago, we need to be evangelizing. These angels are evangelizing to people, telling them what to look out for, basically. Another angel comes and announces that Babylon has fallen, and Babylon, of course, was a code name for Rome at that time. And it could mean different things in different ages depending on which interpretive framework you look at. So we're warned about all of these things. We're warned that those who worship the beast and receive the mark on their hands or on their foreheads will drink the wine of God's wrath, and they'll be tormented with fire, and they will have no rest. And then finally, we're told by the angels that our job is to endure. That's in verse 12. Here's a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and hold fast to the faith of Jesus, and that they will eventually rest from their labors. God is in control, and the angels are telling that to us.
You kind of answered the next 3 questions.
I'm so sorry. You all need to just get the cane and pull me off.
Well, you brought light to the 3 angels
Mhm.
and the messages in which they all delivered. And basically that's what we were about to talk about.
Okay.
So,
You are.
we're able to fast forward.
Okay.
All right. Any questions? Okay, so we're gonna skip all the way down to the last part. The earth is harvested, and that is that's the last one. I promise.
Yeah, you can do that since you like that.
We have to leave in the same.
No, is this
That's
the only
last
question?
one.
Yeah, yeah.
You go, because I can't answer too much.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's
That's the last one. I promise.
This is 14. These angels are busy.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and speed it up. So, the harvest of the earth, basically, very graphic.
It was very graphic.
Huh?
It was very graphic.
Kind of like the Grim Reaper coming down and swiping up those that's supposed to be swiped up. So, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the questions.
I had number 1, what is the harvest associated with? I didn't get to finish all of it, but essentially Jesus appears and he comes to judge all those who had rejected Christ, despite the opportunities to be a worshiper of God. So he's coming for his people and he's going to make judgment on those. And so the scythe, sickle, he's cutting them down, and he says, and he throws it in fire, I think, and they burn forever. So that's what I read so far.
Last question.
Help us out.
That's all.
All right, last question is,
Although the reaping of the vintage is entrusted to another angel, the great wine press is identified with what?
God, his wrath.
Yeah, and a judgment.
Yeah, his
Okay.
wrath,
Judgment. I think the first the first gathering is of the righteous, you know, the reaping of the harvest. And then the second is judgment of the wicked, I believe.
Okay. We'll go with
And actually, it was, how many angels was it? 4?
that. I think it was more than 4, because they kept
Yeah, they
saying
had 4,
angel.
yeah.
All right, so I hope that we were all touched by this lesson.
One way or another.
So that's it for tonight.